Welcome to another almost an episode of Soul and Story. No, welcome. Let's start over.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, welcome to another installment of our interviews with the faculty for this year's KCWC, Kentucky Christian Writers Conference. My name is Cindy Smith, and I am the faculty chair, and it is a pleasure and an honor to get to work with our faculty.
Hey, my name's Greg Turnquist, and I'm this year's technical chair for the KCWC conference.
Yes, and we could not get half of the things done without you, Greg. So we're excited that you're with us today. Today we have another interview with one of our fabulous faculty member, and I'd like to introduce her to you. Her name is Patchen. Welcome, Robin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So
do you want? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, Robin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself to our audience. Maybe tell us where you're from, where you're hailing from, and what are some of the things perhaps you like to do for fun?
Okay, well, so I'm a novelist. I've written about 35 books. I write Christian romantic suspense. I live in the Austin, Texas area, but I'm from New Hampshire, and it's very hot here, and that's great. But also hot. So I've been very thankful because it's been kind of cool this spring, and I've really enjoyed it. What do I like to do for fun? Yeah, I like to hike. But it's been a rough year because I had both my knees replaced this year. So right now I feel like just a walk around the block is just like as close as I get to a hike. But I am hopeful that I will be hiking again in the next few months. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, I love to go hiking too. That's one of the things that we as a family have done a lot of. It's been a long time since we've been hiking because I had to take care of family, but we're like you, we're hoping to get back into going on hikes. We also moved into town and got rid of our property, so we have the time now. So you like to write romantic suspense. Is there anything else that you write, or is that your main focus for writing?
I have just finished a nonfiction that's kind of a memoir, kind of a encouragement for moms who are going through difficulty, which I had hard kids. So anyway, that hasn't been published yet, but I would not say I enjoyed that. I would say I did it because God told me to. And I'm happy to get back to fiction because it's not nearly as hard.
Yeah. And when he calls you to write something though, you feel like you need to do that.
Right. Exactly. And then I wrote it and I thought, well, I'll just put it in a drawer. He didn't tell me to publish it. And then he just kept saying, get it out. So I'm working on that. The only other thing I write is classes and talks and things like this, blog posts, stuff like that. But for the most part, my favorite is just the fiction because I don't have to know anything. I just make it up.
Right. And don't you feel like even though like this thing that you wrote that was really hard, the Lord taught you probably so much through the process. And that, I want to encourage you because what he taught you is through the process, and what you've written is going to help so many other people.
Yeah. I mean, it was very challenging. It was heart-wrenching because my kids, their entire childhoods were heart-wrenching. So it was a challenge, but I do hope so. And I hope it made me a better writer all around, being able to dig into those hard things and, use them in my stories.
Yeah, absolutely. God uses the hard things in our lives to sanctify us, and something that Sarah Turnquist, who is was supposed to be here today. Thank you. She's the coordinator, and she was not feeling well today, but she did a class by Ted Decker, and he said that in his writing he tends to write about what God is working on in his own heart. It comes out on the page. So
I love that. That's really interesting. And having read some of his books, I can totally see that. That makes
awesome. Yeah.
Now I have a question. We're both homeschooling families. Cindy, her girls are growing up. Our kids are still growing. We're both engaged in homeschooling, and we often get asked the question about how do you find time to write a book or write multiple books, whatever, and also cover everything.
Yeah.
what has been your strategy to finding time to write books, for example? You know, what 35 books, that's a lot. That's a major accomplishment in my book. And how did you find time to be able to tackle that?
So when I was still homeschooling, I was pretty new at the writing, so it wasn't like a career at that point for me. It was more of a hobby, and honestly, it was the thing that I did to, this is terrible, but sort of to escapes the bad word, but anyway, just because sometimes it gets overwhelming when you're trying to take care of your kids and they all need you, and it's like, okay, I need 15 minutes. And that would be what I would do. I would go and, huddle at my computer for a few minutes. And I definitely wrote in like 10, 15-minute times, like there were no long writing stretches at that point in my life. It was just write when you can. You just got to take advantage. You can't be too picky. You got to know my first draft might be terrible, but it's okay. You just dive in.
Absolutely.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm going to be Ernest Hemingway. I'm going to go live in this house and I'm going to write 8 hours a day with nothing but cats around me is sort of a giant myth. It's we all have to write in whatever sliver of time we find, and we have to find the time to do it.
Exactly. And but what a joy too. I mean, how dull would life be if we only had cats for company?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm an empty nester, and it's my husband and our cat. And I'm like, I miss those chaotic days when my kids were here and
Yeah.
interrupting me all the time. I miss it.
Yeah. And it's interesting that there is that myth about how writers write. It's always the movie. You'll see a movie and someone will sit down and just write.
Right.
I'm sure there are some people that will sit down and a book will just pour out of them.
Right.
But on the most of the time, most of our daily lives, we have other things that are calling for our attention.
Right.
Sort of pseudo an empty nester. My youngest daughter's still at home. She's on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
She's very low support needs, but she's not ready to be on her own yet. But there's other things that call for our attention other than our writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like how we just, like you said, we just need to find the time where we can to write, because even 15 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And I was struggling with something you said about, the first draft may be not what you want. I just finished my first novel, and I was sharing with Sarah that this editing is just hard. And she said, well, Cindy, think of it this way. The first draft is for you. The editing and the second draft are for your readers. I'm like, oh, okay. So that kind of like changed my whole
I love that
outlook on, I quote her a lot. But yeah, I am like really excited for the classes that you're going to be bringing. Beyond the cliffhanger, designing page-turning fiction, attention, anticipation, and momentum in every scene, strategies to increase backlist sales, which I don't have a backlist, but I know people who do. So I think that's I hadn't thought about that, and how, yes, even though you're writing a new book, you still want your older books, the books you've already published, to be bought. So I like that. Do you feel like your instructional style, is it more instructional, interactive, inspirational, combination of any of that?
I think these classes particularly are very instructional. They're going to have a lot of, kind of, this is how you can do it. This is how, like with the writing ones, this is kind of how you design the plot. Here's some ideas. When you get into a pickle, your book doesn't feel as suspenseful with conflict. Maybe suspense isn't the right word because that is a genre, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some ways to fix it, some ideas. And so they're all going to be pretty instructional in the case of these three. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good. And I'm wanting to sit in on the cliffhanger one. At last year's conference, I did not get to sit in on any of the classes, just because I was so busy. But you're beyond the cliffhanger. That is one of the ones that I'm going to try very hard to sit in on. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, good. I love that class. It's really fun to teach.
Yeah.
The one I'm really stoked for when I look at your list, which it looks like a nice wide array for people from newbies to seasoned pros, is the strategies to increase backlist sales.
Yeah.
Sarah's published like now 27 or 28 books, and I'm like, okay, how can we make this efficient? And so I'm very intrigued to tune into that.
Yeah.
Now, of the 3 classes that you're hosting, which ones do you think are best? If a newbie was able to pick one of the 3, what do you think is best tilted towards a newbie author, maybe working on their first book?
I think that, the Beyond the Cliffhanger book class is pretty big picture plot. It's about the big picture plot. And so I think that for new writers who aren't sure about the plot, they're sort of still figuring that out, that would be a good one. And then I think that it depends on the gifts, because some people are really good at plot and some people are really good. I was always better at the nitty gritty, that just naturally getting that, the other class, the tension, anticipation, momentum, that came a little more naturally to me. And so for people who are like, oh, the plot is easy, it's the in the scene part, then that would be that. Both of them I think are good for newbies and seasoned writers, because we all need to get better all the time.
Yeah. I'm definitely more of a pantser writer. I'm trying to learn about plotting with my second novel. I'm trying to find my sweet spot, because I think that's what you have to find, what works for you.
I agree.
So that's another reason I'm wanting to do the Beyond the Cliffhanger, just so that I don't want to lose my way as I'm writing the story.
Yeah. When I first started, Cindy, I was a pantser, and then I moved to like a general outline. It was like I knew basically these are the major plot points. Here's the 5 or 6 major plot points, and I would just write from one to the next. And the longer I write, the more detailed my plots get. But honestly, at the end of every, I'll have this whole 40-page, it's ridiculous that it's that long, but plot. And then at the end, it'll say, and then something bad happens. Because I never know how the book is going to end. I always am just like, we're just winging it. Something's going to happen. I don't know. So I guess I want to be surprised too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also Sarah's assistant, or organizational manager. And so she and I will sometimes just get together at a coffee shop and write. And she was typing up a scene and she goes, oh, I didn't know she was Russian. Because as she was typing the lady's dialogue, she heard it in a Russian accent.
That's so fun. I love it.
So
yeah, things about our characters as if we didn't make them up. It's so interesting.
Well, right. I took a thing with James Scott Bell. He was at a conference. He was talking about like interviewing interview your character. So so I feel like I'm good at the character development, but like I said, I really want to learn how to plot better. So yeah.
Now, what are some of the tactics you use in you've written a lot in a focused genre, so I feel like you've probably been able to curate your technique. What are some of the techniques that you use to build the story up and
Yeah, there's so many. I have a sort of a bunch of different things that I use. So when I'm building a character, I always start with Susie May Warren's story equation, because she just asks a lot of really good questions in that book. And so I always start there. But then when it's time to plot, her whole plotting method is like Greek. And she's a friend of mine. I've watched her go through it 1,000 times. I'm like, that makes perfect sense when you are on a whiteboard, but I do not have that. So I use it to save the cat when I'm in the plotting, because to me, that's just easier. I just like, this is your block. This is what needs to happen in this block. And I just find that a little easier. So, and then I have, there's things that I use from John Truby's Anatomy of Story, which is this super like detailed book, but it's got some really great nuggets in it. So all over the place.
Yeah.
Here's is the thing, Yeah.
One of the things that I keep hearing over and over again, especially with what you and Greg were just talking about, how it's important to learn the craft of writing, how important it is to understand plot, understand character development, understand the layers that you can put on. So I think that's one of the, looking at your classes, you're covering a lot of the different areas of the craft. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, the tension on every page, that's a big deal. When I think that when authors can get that down, that's when the stories become real page turners, because every page has something that makes you want to find out. Well, I just need to know how that one thing ends, and then I'll put the book down. But there's always another thing.
Exactly.
I don't necessarily have it down, but I understand.
Well, we're just in this side of heaven, we're just going to keep learning more and more.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I agree. I think the learning thing is a critical thing, and it's what I like about KCWC is it's not this huge conference you're coming to with 500 people. It's very what I think of as cozy. All the faculty are very accessible, and you're sitting down, and every meal that we have, you can sit at a table and just ask the faculty member authors, hey, I'm writing my first book, and I'm sitting right next to somebody that's written 35. Let me pick their brain on this one point. And it's a great way to really level up your skill set, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I love that. I mean, that's how I learned so much. I always say my superpower is finding people smarter than me and sitting right next to them. Just tell me everything.
That's a good superpower.
Yeah, but that's all I do. Everything I've learned, I learned because somebody smarter than me told me.
Yeah.
For the most part. So
there was this famous saying I learned in German, like a proverb, if you will, but translated into English, and it says, to become a master, one must always remain a student. And I always found that quite appealing. And when I hear the words you're saying, I'm like, that's it. That's the message right there.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. None of us has it figured out, but we've all got parts of it figured out. And so
exactly.
We can just share with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like that. Go ahead.
Well, just like I have not been to a non-Christian conference, but yesterday we did an interview with Larry Leach, and he says that sometimes in a more secular environment, there's not that I want to help you become better.
Right.
There's this competition,
yes,
a scarcity, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't want to share what I know with someone else because they might get better than I am. But I think in a Christian a Christian conference, maybe a concert too, I don't know. At a conference, everyone that I've met is like, hey, let me help you.
Right.
I like where you're going with this. Let me help you. Let me encourage you. So
yeah.
Is that something that you feel like you want your participants to leave your sessions from, like feeling encouraged and equipped to do this?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of it. And Thomas Umstattd Jr., actually, I remember him saying this once. It's like, our competition is not each other. Our competition is Netflix.
Yes.
The more people read, the more they read. That's what we want. And we want them reading Christian fiction. So I want Christian fiction authors to be awesome. I want them to be the best Christian, authors in the country, the best authors in the world. And the only way we can do that is if we all encourage and help each other.
Yeah.
So, a Christian fiction reader doesn't have to read my books. But I want them to read yours. I want them to read Sarah's, I want them to read in the genre because we want everyone to be encouraged. Clean entertainment,
Yeah. And I think, hopefully non-Christians will pick up our books too, because we want the message of God's redemption to get out to people.
Exactly.
But in your point about our competition is Netflix, we can probably also add YouTube. YouTube is probably a big
Instagram and just scrolling, scrolling all day.
Yep, doom scrolling.
Exactly. Right. But as a Christian, I need to be filling my mind with, Philippians 4:8, whatever is true, whatever is lovely. And so reading Christian fiction is an amazing way to do that, because these authors I've met, they want to have God's story in there.
Yeah, exactly. And just to demonstrate that it is possible to live a life dedicated to the Lord in this culture. You can be in the world and not of the world. We don't have to take part in the foolishness. We can be here and love the people around us without jumping into their crazy with them,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. I have I don't think my aunt will see this, but I have a great aunt who is an atheist. She does not want to have anything to do with Christ. Mm-hmm. But whenever I share, because I've been working with Sarah since 2020, since I started working for her during the pandemic, whenever she has a new book that comes out, I post it like, hey, my friend just released this book. and my aunt gets every one of her books and reads them.
How
So
interesting.
yeah, so I'm like, who knows what ministry Sarah could be doing.
Mhm.
And I'm also trying to start sharing more now that I'm getting to know more Christian authors.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing, going, please, I hope my aunt gets that.
Yeah. I mean, when I first, I'm trying to think which book it was, but early in my career, I would write my books and I would be thinking of a dear friend of mine who I love very much, who does not know the Lord. And I would be thinking, she's probably going to read it because she's my friend, so what can I put in here that will encourage her and, spur her on to find God? I don't know if it ever worked, but I do know that she reads my book. So
Yeah.
Who knows?
Exactly. Our historian and chaplain for this year's KCWC conference, Greg Bridgman, who's been coordinator for the conference in past years.
Yeah.
One of the comments I've heard him say in the past, and I agree with it, is if you look at an author like C.S. Lewis, more people have read his works and come to Christ since he passed away than when he was alive. And so this is a strong message to me, is our writing is going to outlive us. It will be here longer than us. Do we want it to serve the world, or do we want it to serve Christ? And I think that's a key value to have that as a parent principle to engage with before we start writing a single word.
I love that. That's true. I mean, I just think, even if it's only my children and my grandchildren, which my kids don't read my books, but okay, maybe when I'm gone, they'll be like, oh, I have this, my mom did all these things, and maybe they'll read. I mean,
Yeah.
And I have 2 grandchildren, but who knows how many there'll be someday. And so I just, even if it's just that, I mean, I would hope that it would go beyond that, but even if it's just that, that's worth it to me,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think that's I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Greg, I'll let you take over.
I think we've covered a lot of great stuff. I'm really excited for these sessions. They look like this is good stuff. If you're just getting started, come here and make sure to go find out when Robin's Talks is. We're right now we're polishing up the schedule and are going to have it out there on the website. We've already been posting. There's links have been posted in the video, and in the description below you can find links to register for this year's KCWC conference. And I do want to remind you that we have the early bird deal going, so grab it while the discount is hot.
Yeah.
Get your ticket, and it's got all the dates on there, and you can also see all the other wonderful faculty that are coming. Like we said, it's almost like a big family coming together once a year to who happens to write, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's whether you're working on your first novel or your 20th novel, come check us out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we close, I want to ask, what is your favorite thing about going to writers' conferences, and why should someone sign up?
Oh my goodness. I don't know that if not for writers' conferences, I don't know that I would have kept writing. There's just, you don't know what you don't know. And the only way to learn what you don't know is to hang around with people who know more than you do. So I have learned so much at writers' conferences, but really more than that, I always say my superpower is finding smart people and sitting next to them. I've met all those smart people, and people who have become very dear friends at writers' conferences. I mean, some of my closest friends in the world I met at a writers' conference that we just clicked, and we're just friends. So, writers are weird. We're a weird people. You just can't go to the coffee shop with your next door neighbor and talk about like different strategies to kill somebody without getting raised eyebrows. But you can go to a writers' conference and people get you. That's what I love, is they get me. I make up stories for a living, and other people are like, go,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think there is any substitute for a great writers' conference.
Yeah. My youngest daughter also likes to write, and she's she will write fantasy, but she'll have some more not darker, but she'll have like a killing or like a murder or something. And so she's like, every once in a while, Mom, I have to go in and clear my search history, because I think if someone looked at my search history, they would think, what is she up to?
Yes. Oh, I have that a lot. In fact, I'm always on ChatGPT now, is my new thing. And I'll be like, for a novel, I need to know because I don't want to get flagged. I don't need NSA showing up at my door.
Exactly.
A joke is there's a joke. I don't think it's real, but it's a medical alert bracelet that if you flip it over, it says delete my browser history.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And there's something that one of the social media places I do go to is Reddit, and there's a self-publishing one there. And somewhere I shared with somebody my opinion of we all do different things, whatever our day job is. Like I happen to write software. The person you run into, maybe they're a musician and somebody else does. We all do different things. And if we go to some event, some like social gathering, and we start talking about what we're doing, the odds that you're going to connect with somebody maybe are slim.
Mm-hmm.
But the second you say something like, I write books, there's something universal about that everybody drops what they're doing. Whoa, you write a book. Tell me about this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's so many people you'll meet that'll be like, I want to write a book. And so many people will say that.
Yeah.
It's like, but the people that actually go through with it are very unique. And I like the idea that when I go to KCWC and I step into the room, I'm surrounded by 80 other people that not only want to write a book, but have taken the plunge to do that.
They're actually doing it. Yeah. They're not just dreaming about it anymore. They're doing it.
Absolutely. And we need that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do. That's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Robin. This has been such a joy. And I am looking forward to meeting you in real life, or as my daughter would say, IRL.
IRL. I'm looking forward to this. I've never been to Kentucky, so I can't wait to see.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're just like right below the Kentucky border where we are, and this part of the country, it's green with rolling hills, and then you're also not too far from the mountains, which are the Smokies are some of my favorite places in the world. But it's really beautiful. And October, it should be gorgeous. The leaves should be changing. So
hey, I'll get some of that. We don't get that in Texas.
No, I'm from Houston originally, and my husband's sister, who still lives in Houston, she says she remembers in school learning about how the birds fly south for the winter. And she's like, why the birds never leave Houston? And then she's like, oh, we are the South for the winter.
Yeah, they came to you. They came to the roost.
So, but thank you so much. And be sure to check out the comments in the show notes, because we will have the links to register and information on where to find Robin's books. So we just thank you so much for joining us, Robin, and we just hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.